The scissors felt cold against my trembling fingers. I gripped the tiny bell on Jasper's collar, its once cheerful jingle now a mocking reminder. It had to go. Every tinkling chime sent shivers down my spine, a haunting echo of a past I couldn't outrun. I quickly snipped the bell off, the silence in its wake deafening. Jasper, my usually boisterous tabby, slunk away, his emerald eyes mirroring my own fear. He didn't understand. He couldn't. But I knew. Every jingle was a nail hammered into the coffin of my guilt, a constant reminder of the day the laughter died and the haunting began. The summer I turned 10, Mr. Jingles, the town recluse, became our target. Driven by childish bravado and fueled by whispers passed around the campfire, we, a band of giggling misfits, decided to play a prank. The memory, even now, unfolds like a faded Polaroid. The plan was simple, cruel, and utterly stupid in retrospect. We were to tie empty tin cans to Mr. Jingles' doorknob, ring the bell, and run. The image of his startled face, framed by the peeling paint of his front door, was meant to be our trophy. It became my nightmare. I haven't heard a bell chime without flinching in 30 years. 30 years of carrying the weight of that summer night, its darkness seeping into the cracks of my life like poisonous fog. I left Ridgewood shortly after that summer, desperate to outrun the whispers that seemed to seep from the very walls of my childhood home. But some stains never truly fade. They linger beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to resurface, twisting the ordinary into the sinister. The creaking of my old Victorian home became the groan of Mr. Jingles' floorboards, the rustling leaves outside my window, whispers of his name. The fog rolled in again tonight, blanketing the town in a thick, unsettling embrace. It was the same suffocating fog that had blanketed that summer night, blurring the lines between mischief and malice. I remember the fear that pricked my skin as we tiptoed towards Mr. Jingles' house, our laughter dying in our throats. The air hung heavy and still, thick with the smell of damp earth and something else, something metallic that made my stomach churn. We were just kids, we told ourselves, looking for a laugh. But deep down, a seed of unease had been sown. Section 5. A familiar jingle. The rusty chime of a bicycle bell cut through the fog, sending a jolt of icy fear through my veins. It was a sound I hadn't heard in years, a sound forever intertwined with that night. It was the sound Mr. Jingles had attached to his rusty old bicycle, a sound that used to echo through the sleepy streets of Ridgewood. But Mr. Jingles was gone. He'd vanished that same summer, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and a town simmering with suspicion. The sound of the bell, faint and distant, sent shivers down my spine. It couldn't be, could it? I found myself drawn to the window, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. My breath fogged the glass, momentarily obscuring the street below. I wiped it away with a trembling hand, my eyes scanning the desolate street for the source of the sound. The fog played tricks on the eyes, twisting the familiar into the grotesque. The gnarled branches of the old oak tree morphed into grasping claws. The shadows seemed to writhe and pulse, taking on the shapes of faces I thought I'd long forgotten. The faces of my childhood friends, their expressions frozen in grimaces of fear and regret. My reflection stared back at me, a stranger etched with years of unspoken guilt and regret. The years had etched lines on my face, but they couldn't erase the memory of that summer night. The fog, the bell, the fear, they were all back, as vivid as ever, a chilling reminder of the past I could never escape. I had spent years running from the echoes of that night, but maybe it was time to stop hiding. Maybe it was time to confront the shadows head on. The thought filled me with a strange mixture of dread and a sliver of something akin to hope. The silence in my house was deafening. It was the silence of secrets kept for too long, the silence of fear left to fester. The weight of it pressed down on me, suffocating me. I had kept the truth buried inside me for years, but the weight of it had become unbearable. Perhaps it was time to speak, to give voice to the guilt that had haunted me for so long. Maybe in confession, there could be some semblance of peace, some flicker of redemption. But who would believe me after all these years? I picked up the phone, the plastic cold and slick in my hand. My finger hovered over the buttons, the number etched in my memory like a brand. It was time to break the silence, to face the consequences of that long-ago summer night. The fog outside seemed to thin a little, as if the weight of the world was lifting, ever so slightly. I took a deep breath and dialed. the ringing tone echoing in the silence like a promise. A promise to confront the past, to seek forgiveness, and maybe, just maybe, to finally find a flicker of peace.